Welcome back to the Angry Man Podcast with Jason and Greg. So, I was scrolling earlier today and ran across a couple of clips, one of which was a YouTube short from Shawn Porter. And he had Showbiz the Adult on there. Shout out to Showbiz the Adult. And they talked a little bit about Terence Crawford versus Canelo Alvarez. Now, I heard this, but for whatever reason, it didn't resonate with me at the time. And I continued to just move on, right? And then about 10, 15 minutes ago or so, I was sitting there and I was scrolling through X and ran across Ray Jack. Ran across a tweet from him. Ray Jack is a friend of the show for sure. And what Ray Jack was essentially saying was that he's hated on Canelo in the past, but he's not going to lose to a welterweight, right? And accompanying his tweet was a video, another clip from the Porterway podcast, again with Showbiz the Adult. And I like Shawn Porter. I feel like Shawn Porter is great for the sport. Really like his podcast. And he's an expert in the sport, right? He's going to know more about the sport of boxing than I ever will, right? So I'm not going to sit up here and act like I'm more of an expert than Shawn Porter. I am not. But at the same time, just because you're an expert, as I've mentioned before, doesn't mean that you cannot be blinded by the moment, by emotions, and things of that nature. And to me, the comment from Shawn Porter, I just could not align and track with in regards to Terence Crawford and how a fight would play out with Canelo Alvarez. Now, we've seen a number of different fighters and promoters either backtrack on what they originally said or straight out pick Canelo to win. And it's not like Canelo looked spectacular in there against Jermell Charlo, but still, I think there was this notion that was out there that Canelo was just tanking and that Crawford could take him. And Shawn, for whatever reason, didn't get that memo. He still feels that there's an opportunity for Terence Crawford. Now, I don't know exactly how old this clip is, but it was just interesting to me to hear him say that. So I want to play this clip and react to it because it's very interesting what Shawn Porter had to say in regards to Terence Crawford. So I got Ray Jack tweet up and I'm going to play it very quickly.
Yeah. Talk about conditioning. It ain't no secret. We all can look and say, right around 9 rounds is when Canelo starts to really decline and his punch output, statistically look at it, punch output just significantly dives. This fight, what we didn't see from Canelo, because he didn't have to do it, we didn't see him fight in spurts. He's going to fight in spurts against Terence Crawford.
That's right.
Terence is going to challenge him both offensively, defensively, and also not only challenge that, but challenge that gas tank.
That's very much. See, that's what I'm saying.
And
you don't have to question Crawford. You don't have to question him.
And what do we know about Bud? Bud got it at the end of the fight.
So that's what Shawn Porter had to say. And again, I want to preface my comments by saying Shawn Porter will know more about boxing than I ever will, right? I don't dispute that. However, I cannot track with that statement. Bud is going to challenge Canelo both offensively and defensively. I don't necessarily disagree with that because I think Crawford brings a unique skill set to the ring in terms of counterpunching ability. I think he challenges him from a defensive perspective, meaning, Crawford is a counterpuncher, and I think that'll be a challenge. But I don't think he challenges him as much offensively as people think. Crawford is not this outstanding, amazing defensive fighter. So I don't see as much of a challenge there. But overall, I do believe Terence Crawford will provide a challenge to Canelo Alvarez. But the part where it doesn't make any sense to me is that he is saying that Crawford will challenge him from a work rate perspective, right? Challenge the gas tank. At what point was Terence Crawford ever considered a fighter with a high work rate? Never. I've never heard of anybody saying that Terence Crawford has a high work rate. I'm not saying that he's not a well-conditioned fighter, because he is, but he doesn't have a extremely high work rate. So I just thought about it. I said, I just want to go and check out the punch stats, right? And so I went to CompuBox. I'm going to share my screen quickly. Let me see if I can make this larger first. But I was just interested in knowing, how Terence Crawford fares in terms of punch output. And so here's CompuBox. Now, quite honestly, I could not find, the welterweight average or anything like that on CompuBox. But one thing that they did have was current pound for pound fighters. And you can see right here in column 2, I sorted by punches thrown. And they're talking about some of the top fighters in the sport. So punches thrown per round, Gervonta Davis averages 33.2. He's the lowest of who they consider pound for pound fighters. Terence Crawford is 5th down in terms of least amount of punches thrown per round. Canelo is at number 2 with 41. Crawford is at number 5 at 47. So Crawford throws approximately 6 more punches per round than Canelo Alvarez. If you look at Errol Spence, who they also have here, he throws 67.9. Inouye, 63.6. Arthur Beterbiev, who is a 175 pounder, 62.1. So Crawford is not considered, in my estimation, somebody who I would sit here and say, this guy has a really high work rate such that he would challenge Canelo Alvarez's gas tank. Crawford's a counterpuncher. He's going to sit back and wait for Canelo to attack, because what Crawford is highly skillful at is using your aggression against you. That's what he's good at. So he's going to wait for opportunities and try to set traps to counter Canelo Alvarez. Now, Canelo will also set some traps as well to counter what Terence Crawford is doing. But this whole notion that Terence Crawford can simply outwork and challenge Canelo's gas tank, it makes no sense. And not only that, I just gave you the work rate of Terence Crawford as a welterweight, right? And he is the 5th least active amongst the fighters that are considered pound for pound elite fighters. He is the 5th least at welterweight. What do you think he looks like at super middleweight? He will be even less active. So this whole notion that Terence Crawford would just get in the ring and challenge Canelo's gas tank or his ability to it doesn't make sense to me at all. And these are the arguments that I have to come on here and counter, because they just don't make sense to me. No disrespect to Shawn Porter, because again, he knows more about boxing than I do, but I just cannot align to this. There's nothing that supports, just like he just mentioned that the stats will show that there's a decline in Canelo Alvarez after round 9. The stats also show that Crawford is not that active. So you guys tell me what you think in the comment section in regards to what he had to say and what I had to respond with. Don't forget to hate, like, comment, and subscribe. This is the Angry Man Podcast, AM Sports Media, and I am